Hello YouTubers, this is Ranger Rick, and today we're looking at the Taurus PT111 Millennium Pro. Please forgive me for if I don't always use the exact wording that the manufacturer uses to identify parts and assemblies. I think you'll understand anyway. In any event, I hope it's helpful to you. Let's start out by making sure that the firearm is unloaded. So we'll push the magazine release, pull the magazine out and set it aside. They're going to use the slide catch, rack the slide, put the catch in place. Now we're going to look at the inside, check the chamber, check the inside of the gun, and we have no ammunition, so we're safe to proceed. I wanted to start out by showing you my crossbreed carry holster. I use the Taurus as my carry firearm. Been real happy with it. It's small and easy to conceal, and it goes great in the crossbreed. The crossbreed has a sort of a leather material that it's made out of, and it does mold to you. It does have some flexibility, but eventually will mold to your body. And it does have these really nice clips. When I first got this holster in the waistband holster, it had plastic clips, and when you put the clips over your belt a lot, eventually developed a crack, and then the clip actually broke at the top. I checked with Crossbreed. They sent me a real nice set of these new steel ones that they've converted to, and they work great. They don't bend very much. They're strong and hold it in place really well. If you want to get a holster that won't mar the finish at all on your firearm, then you probably don't want to go with this. You want to go with a pure leather holster. But this is a working gun for me, and I don't care if it eventually, develops some places where it takes a little bit of the finish off, because I'm really happy with the holster. I did modify it a little at the top and cut it down to fit the gun a little bit better. But I've been real happy with this, and I highly recommend it to you. To start out, let's drop the magazine, so we'll hit the magazine release latch. There are three things on the side of the firearm. The first one on the end is your safety. We're going to turn that off. The middle one is your slide catch. And the third one is the release pin, the latch release pin for the slide. And it also releases the inside of the unit and allows the barrel to move. So let's go ahead and we'll rack the slide and catch it with the catch. At this point you can see that all we're going to take and do is rotate this latch pin. We're going to rotate it down just like the cutout kind of is. And then what we're going to do is we're going to rack the slide a couple times and re-catch it. And what that does is that will tend to release this pin. I don't know if you can tell and see, but it's now come out a little bit away from the firearm. At this point in time, all you can do is grab it, and you hear that pop, and now it's past the spring, and you can easily pull it the rest of the way out. So you can see, you can just slide it right on out, and we'll take it the rest of the way out. Okay, so there's your latch pin. We'll set it aside. At this point, you can take and let it release and come forward. We're going to take and go ahead and fire the firearm, and then we're going to slide it forward and release the pin, release the trigger at the same time. The trigger does have to be fired for you to be able to slide this off of the lower frame. As far as the lower frame is concerned, that's it. You don't have to do anything else but just clean the lower frame, and so we'll set that aside. The only thing left we have to do is the slide, and you'll notice that the spring on the front slide that holds the barrel in place, what we're going to do is we're going to pick up the back part of the spring here and just move it away from the barrel. Now it is under tension, so you're going to push it a little bit, and you're going to lift it up a little bit. It's only going to come out about 1/4 of an inch. And at that point, you can take and lift it up and slide it out from the front here, and then you've got the spring mechanism out. This is all one piece, does not come apart any further. All you really need to do is wipe it and clean it down when you clean the rest of the gun. At this point, the barrel is the only thing left to take out. We're going to lift it up and move it forward just a little bit, and then at that point we can slide it out the back. And that's the basic field strip of the PT111. I did want to talk to you a little bit about cleaning the firearm. Everybody does this differently. I'm just going to tell you what I do, and you can take it for what it's worth. I use break-free in all of my firearms. It is a cleaner, lubricant, and preservative, break-free CLP, and I've been real happy with this. It really does a good job cleaning the firearm, and I use it, just spray it on everything. A lot of times what I'll do is I've got a Tupperware, and I'll just set pieces in there, and then I'll spray that on there good and let it sit, for a while, sometimes overnight, and then I'll take it out and clean it down, and depending on what it is, what piece it is, I'll use a toothbrush. In this case, the barrel. I'll actually have barrel patches that I'll take and put in the barrel, and I use just a standard barrel cleaning rod that's got a push through on the top, and I'll just catch that patch and just drive that on through. And I'll do that with the break-free, a couple of wet patches, and then I'll start running through patches that are dry till they come out and they're clean. And one of the way you can tell if you'll hold the patch below the barrel, then you can look through the barrel and see if it's relatively clean and you've gotten all the gunk out of there. And that's what I'll do in a basic cleaning. If I do see some more stuff in there, if they're copper filing or anything else, then I'll take and use Hops number 9 or Hoppies number 9, depending on how you want to pronounce it. It's really good for getting the really rough stuff out. When I do that with the Hops number 9, I'll also use a brass brush that'll go on the same rod. Unscrew it and put it on, and I'll go back and I'll go in and out with that. Just make sure you go through all the way through the firearm, and you do want to be careful of the front crown when you're doing that. But basically, that will get all the rest of the gunk that's out of there, and I'll clean that out. I'll use break-free again after that to get all of that solvent out of there, and then I'll run patches through it till I get it dry. And that's how I'll pretty much clean the barrel. On the slide and the other parts, the best thing to use is a toothbrush. You can go in and get all the rails and the slide, all the end parts of the slide. You can even go on the face here where the firing pin is and get the ejector and get all that cleaned out. Toothbrush is just really an excellent thing to do that. Of course, with the lower, it's the same way. You can do all the sides with the lower and actually get down in the unit and clean it all out. And toothbrush with soft bristles is really the way to go as far as I'm concerned. So then after you get done with that, I just use t-shirts that I've cut up, and I'll try to get with my fingers to get to all the pieces that I can possibly get to it. Sometimes I'll also take a small screwdriver or a punch roll or something like that and use the edge of that and go along, and I can get all the edges out, and it'll tend to pull the dirt out on the cloth as I do that. So, but basically I'm just using an old cut up t-shirt to clean it all off, and that seems to work really well for me. When I'm done cleaning the gun and got it all pretty much ready to go and I'm ready to assemble it, I want to lubricate it a little bit. I do use Hops number 9 lubricating oil. Probably any of the good gun oils, lubricants would do. On the heavy firearms like M1A or whatever, you'd actually use grease, but this is just a real thin oil, and it doesn't take much. I mean, just a drop is all you're going to need. So what I usually do is come in and put a drop on the front of the rail and on the back of the rail on both sides, and I'll also put a drop here where the barrel rides up, and then also right here on this rail right here, and that's pretty much it. That's all that I lubricate. I will go ahead and lubricate the barrel, the outside of the barrel, so I'll just put some on that, and let me put the top back on this, and then I'll just take my fingers and roll that whole thing, because that does slide and does have some friction. You can see the marks that's on your barrel when you look at that. So So that's it for cleaning. That's pretty much how I go about cleaning it. When I take the slide assembly apart in a later video, I'll show you a little bit about what I do to clean it. But for basic field stripping and basic cleaning, this is pretty much it. Okay, so let's now do our reassembly. First thing we'll do is take the slide, and we're going to take the barrel and drop the barrel into the slide. So it basically just goes into the slide, and then just push it back till it drops in place. You can see if you look in how the barrel locks kind of in place. So it's in place there. Then we're going to take the spring mechanism, and you notice this plastic part on the front of it. It's got to go up through this hole in the front. And it's very important when you slide this up that you push it so that it's flush with the front of the firearm. If it's down a little bit and not flush like that, then the spring's not going to lock in correctly. So you want to push it up to where it's flush with the front of the firearm, or front of the slide, I should say. And then at that point, you're just going to take and drop this round circular back part in behind the mechanism on top of the barrel. So we're just going to take and push that in a little bit and set it down. It's just going to set down in place. And at that point, the slide's fully assembled. It's ready to go back on the lower. And then you notice that it's all going to stay in one piece when you rotate it around. Alright, so we'll take the lower, and what we're going to do is take the slide, and we'll take the back of the slide. You notice the two little slots there. Then we're going to take the front of the lower, and we're just going to push it right down into that. And once it's back together, we're going to go ahead and rack it and catch it with the slide catch. And you notice the barrel is not held in place anymore. And that's what the latch pin does when you put it in place, is it's going to hold that barrel in place. So we're going to look through this little hole, and we're going to adjust the barrel so that we can see daylight. This may not be real clear here, but when you do it on your firearm, you'll see what I'm talking about. So we'll line the hole up, and we're just going to hold it in place with our finger. This latch pin, you notice the pin has a little edge to the front of it, and we're just going to take and lay that edge on the spring that's here. So we'll lay it on the spring, and then we're going to rotate the pin down, and as we do that, we're going to push it in the hole. So as we rotate it down, it's going to push the spring out of the way, and it's going to go in the hole. At that point, you can take and slightly move the barrel back and forth and push the pin the rest of the way in. When we get close to the frame, we're going to rotate it horizontal again, and then we're just going to pop it in place, and it'll go the rest of the way into the firearm. At that point, we can move the slide, and the firearm's fully back together. I'm going to rack the slide a few times, make sure it's nice and smooth, and we'll do a function check. So we're going to pull the trigger, fires correctly, rack it again, we'll pull the trigger this time, and we're going to hold the trigger, rack it as if it had fired. Now when we release the trigger, we want to hear a nice little click. You could hear that as I let go of it. That's correct functioning. Alright, so it looks good. We'll put the magazine in, rack the slide. The slide will hold in place because the magazine's in place. We're all back together. In later videos, we'll do a complete disassembly on the slide, and we'll also do a complete disassembly on the lower. That's the part that I was unfamiliar with. So until then, be safe and shoot straight.